Earlier today, we got what seems like it's going to be the intro for DLC 4 in Black Ops 4 Zombies. Now, quickly, I'm not going to actually play the intro in its entirety throughout this video, and if you guys did miss it, you guys still want to check it out, there's hopefully a link down in the description. You guys can click on that, watch it, and then come right back, because I'm mainly just going to be explaining what's going on inside this intro. One thing I want to say real quick is that I'm going to be calling it DLC 4 throughout this video, but there is an idea for what the name of the map is going to be, because in the actual YouTube video for this intro it said A Light in the Darkness, and I mean that could be the name, but I just don't think that's the case. I think that's just the title for the YouTube video. I don't think it's actually what DLC 4 is going to be called, but it possibly could be. But again, since I don't think it's going to be the case, I'm going to throughout this video only call it DLC 4. But with that said, let's actually get into what I'm even making this video for, and that's an actual breakdown of this intro. But I'm going to explain everything I possibly can, and also bring up questions for things that need to be questioned, and that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing. But with that said, let's actually get into this intro. So the start of this intro, we see the Cryo Chambers with Victus in them under Blood of the Dead, or Richtofen's laboratory under Alcatraz. But we know this is the case because just, I mean, what it looks like, you look around the place, and even at the very end, the last frame of it, it's definitely in Richtofen's laboratory. We just know that's the case because everything just looks like that. And the reason why this is significant, and the reason I even bring it up, is because if you are also a storyline enthusiast like myself, then you would know that there was a possibility that they could have awakened from the cryo chambers under the house or in the house's basement, because in the comics we saw that it seemed like there were two different areas with the cryo chambers inside, of course, Blood of the Dead and everything we've seen since then. We saw them there and also in the timeline, but in the comics it seemed like Victus teleported to the house and then they went into the cryo chambers, so it made us think that there were two sets of cryo chambers. But of course it doesn't seem like that's going to be explored, or it might have been even a mistake in the comics, and that's the reason I bring this up. But I actually want to talk about what happens inside this clip. So what happens here is just Victus awakens. Nothing really special there. They just have little conversations that have little substance to them, at least storyline wise. But one thing that you can point out from all this is that it seems when Stullinger first gets out of his cryo chamber, he's talking to someone in his head. Now, of course, we'll explore this a little bit more depth in later time because he's talking to someone in his head later. But besides that, there's really nothing of significance besides, of course, Victus waking up and the little conversation that we heard with Stullinger. But right after that, we see what we were kind of getting teased at for a while now, or whenever it started earlier this week, where of course we saw Nikolai having his speech in front of Ultimus and Primus in the frozen forest, whatever you want to call it, and them just having themselves a little party before DLC 4 actually takes place. And this, of course, is where Nikolai says, "My friends, old and new, we stand on the brink of victory. The MPD, the Apothkins, all of it will soon be gone, but tonight we celebrate." And of course, you guys all know that. You guys heard it at the start of this, but of course there's really not much to say. The only major thing of significance is just the fact that he's saying that we're going to be doing something crazy and everything's going to be gone tomorrow. The L115, the Apothkins, the Ether, of course the MPD itself, also just a lot of different things are going to be gone tomorrow. But today we're just doing one last celebration before it's all over. And the reason they're doing this is probably because they're not going to survive the next day. And I mean, that's mainly probably the reason why Nikolai wants to have this one last party before it's over. It's kind of maybe some sort of foreshadowing at what may be happening at the end of DLC 4. Of course, not saying anything for certain, but that's what seems like what's going on. But of course, besides that, the only other things of significance is that they're in the forest. And this, of course, seems like the forest from Black Ops 3, where we saw everybody in the forest in the menu, and also during all the memory trailers, we saw them in the forest all over again. And that was never really explained, and it's not really explained here either. But one thing we can confirm now is that it seems like the forest is an actual place. Like before, you could have argued that the forest was just a place to look cool for trailers or just a menu screen, but now it seems like it's confirmed that this is a place that our characters could actually go to. But it doesn't really explain where it's at. We don't know if it's maybe in the empty earth, maybe it's somewhere Dimension 63, original universe, fractures. We just don't know exactly where it is, but I think we can can confirm it's not the afterlife, because that was a theory that was going around for a while, especially during Black Ops 3, that this is where they go when they die. But I think we can confirm it, because I mean, it's not really like you're having a party when you're dead and you're going to go do something after that. It just doesn't seem like that's the case. So, you know, at least we know it's a location that our characters can access. That's all I'm really saying here. So after that, we actually see something that really seems like it shouldn't happen. And the reason I say that is because what happens is Victus is actually starting to be attacked by zombies. And this is very, very strange, because if we actually look back at what happened at the ending cutscene to Blood of the Dead, which was in the Alcatraz Pocket Dimension, didn't Great War Richtofen kind of eradicate that entire dimension of zombies? At least that's the impression it gave us. But for some reason now the zombies are here all over again. And I mean, there's a couple maybe explanations for that. I mean, one of them is just that they needed zombies to rush them out of there or whatever. Maybe Dr. Monty, maybe even one of our Ultimus or Primus characters said the zombies or something like that, because we know that at least Primus Richtofen did that in the past. But one thing that I think may have some actual weight to it is this is not actually happening in the Alcatraz Pocket Dimension. Instead, this is happening in Dimension 63, where the Alcatraz Pocket Dimension was even created. Because in fact what happened is that the Victus characters, I don't actually know how they even got to the Alcatraz Pocket Dimension inside Blood of the Dead, because if you look at the timeline, they actually went to Dimension 63 and were frozen in Dimension 63's Richtofen's laboratory under Alcatraz, not the Pocket Dimension. So what's probably happening here is that yes, the zombies were eradicated from the Alcatraz Pocket Dimension, but not Dimension 63, and that's why they're being attacked now. And that's the only real explanation that I could really give, because without that, I mean, the only other explanation that I've heard is that this is happening like right before Great War Richtofen eradicates all the zombies, and I don't think that's very likely, because when you're playing as Richtofen, you could actually still see Victus inside their cryo chambers, and unless they immediately defrosted in the time it took you to get into the boss fight arena and lift up the stone, which is literally seconds, I just don't see that as a proper explanation. And that's why I feel like this isn't the Alcatraz Pocket Dimension, this is instead Dimension 63, where they originally were frozen, and that's just what I take from this. Of course, when the Victus see all these zombies coming towards them, they're thinking, well, this is a problem, right? And so they start asking Stuhlinger, hey, we don't got any weapons, so what are we going to do? Ask that voice in your head. And this is where Stuhlinger says something a little interesting that I find kind of unexpected, but this is where he says that they just woke up and they're a little grumpy. And there's two reasons I find this interesting. Is the fact that they just woke up is, you know, they just woke up, what's up with that? Why, you know, who does that? But on top of that, and what's more interesting to me, is that he said they, like plural. He didn't say Richtofen or he or something like that. He said they, which is definitely plural. So it makes you question, who is he talking to? And I personally think what's most likely is that he's talking to both Primus and Ultimus Richtofen, because as we know, Ultimus Richtofen had a connection with Stuhlinger, of course, what we saw inside Black Ops 2. But then inside the comics, we saw Primus Richtofen also gained this connection with Stuhlinger, and also inside Blood of the Dead itself, we heard them be able to talk to each other. And I'm thinking that's what's probably happening, that he's hearing both Primus and Ultimus Richtofen, and that's why he's saying they. Of course, what's probably going to happen is that he is probably talking to both Primus and Ultimus Richtofen, but they're probably getting a message from Primus Nikolai to tell Stuhlinger. That's probably what's going on. The other part of that is when Stuhlinger said they just woke up, and the reason I think that he's saying that is because what's probably happening is that Ultimus and Primus just woke up from their night of partying that we saw in the clip before, because what happened in the clip before, they were drinking, they were partying, and they fell asleep, and now they were just waking up, and this is when this is all happening to Victus. At least that's what I think is the current best explanation for why he's saying they just woke up. Next thing Stuhlinger actually says is seemingly something he's being told in his head again, and he says Dr. Minty, of course probably meaning Dr. Monty, isn't he supposed to be a bad guy? And that is very interesting, because for some reason when people hear that, they think that Victus are going to work with Monty, and it just doesn't sound like that to me. It sounds like to me what they're saying is that we're going to go fight Dr. Monty and we need your help. And that's why Stuhlinger responds with Dr. Minty, isn't he supposed to be a bad guy? And that's what it just seems like to me. Of course, I don't think they're going to be working with Dr. Monty in the slightest, and I think most likely is that they're just recruiting them to help them fight Dr. Monty. And then, of course, finally after that, the portal opens and the Victus, of course, travel through that to go wherever they're going, probably to meet up with Ultimus and Primus. But of course, that's all of it for the intro, and I'd love to hear what you guys think of this intro. Did you guys like what you saw with this intro? I know a lot of people are still disappointed that we're not getting CGI intros and we're getting these animated ones, or these drawn animated ones, which, I mean, I like how these look, but I had to agree. I kind of wish we had the CGI things, and this would be so cool. Imagine we got stuff like this for like little bonus things. That would be so cool, like bonus trailers and stuff like that. I would love that for bonus trailers, but for the actual intros, I mean, I don't know. And I really hope that the outro is at least CGI, but that's yet to be seen. But regardless, that's all I can really say about the DLC 4's intro cutscene. But there's one last thing I want to share with you guys, and that's actually the release date of this map. It's already been confirmed. Even before the title of the map has been confirmed, we actually have a release date, and what that is September 23rd. And surprisingly, that's on a Monday, and that's just a thing. And I think it's a really good spot for it because that's right after the betas for Modern Warfare. So, you know, it's really nice. Once we're done playing the betas for Modern Warfare, we're going to have DLC 4 to play, and then that will just lead into, of course, hopefully Modern Warfare's release. So that's some cool stuff. I like that, how they're scheduling this out, unlike what they've been doing with their last few maps. But that's about it for me. If you guys did enjoy the video and are excited for DLC 4, then you guys know that I'm going to be covering all of it, no matter what it is, the actual release of it, maybe some more teasers leading up to it, hopefully a gameplay trailer, or maybe even a story trailer, all before DLC 4's relaunch. You guys know I'm going to be covering all of it, and of course the best way to stay tuned for that is by doing all the normal YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, bell, share, and all that great stuff, and especially bell, just because that's when you get all the notifications for my videos. But that's better for me, and I'll catch you guys next stream, video, or whatever it may be, and laters, guys.